Okay, call this meeting to order. Lee, will you give us the roll call? Lee? Maybe you can't hear. Where is Lee?
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yep.
there I am. Okay, Kayola,
Here.
Jim,
Here.
Greg,
Here.
Lee, here, Phil,
Here.
Marianne. Marianne? Note that
Unmute
Marianne is,
Marianne.
Good, there we go.
Uh,
Here, got it.
Marianne's here. And Ross,
Here.
all present.
Okay. The previous meetings minutes have been distributed. Are there any corrections that need to be made to those minutes? Anyone have any corrections?
Nope.
Okay, I don't have any. So those the August 12th, 2021 minutes are approved as they are. Okay, going over the agenda for tonight. Is any, want to add one thing to the agenda tonight after the seeker committee dissolution. Right after that, I'd like to maybe just have a discussion about the gate on Makamai.
Please,
Is
please.
everyone fine with that?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes we want to make to the agenda?
No.
No. All right. All those approved, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay, so the agenda is approved for tonight. Okay, start off with the president's report. It's going to be very short tonight. Just to let everyone know, the grading permit has been approved. It was approved last week, so all our permits are approved now. So just have to wait on the county to stamp that permit, and they have to give copies to both the inspector and the construction company, which is Glover. Glover has been made aware that the permits have been approved by Bruce at Okahara and Associates. And so hopefully we start seeing work on the roads this month. That's what we hope.
awesome.
So and that's all I have for tonight for the president's report. Any questions about that by anyone?
Nope.
Hey, Ola,
Yes.
could you give everybody an update about the Kapuka, whatever it's called out there?
Well, right now, the county just released something that said that FEMA is now requiring an environmental assessment. So the county is pushing that construction of Pohoiki Road out to mid next year. So that's not good news for those out in Kapuka.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be this month, but that's been really pushed. Thank you for the update.
Yep. Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead. We'll have the treasurer's report by Greg.
Okay, right after last month's meeting, I got the approval from SBA. Our loan has been reinstated. We also got, I think I told you this before, but we also got the forgiveness on the payroll grant that we had. So that's $17,000 we get to keep.
Oh.
Still working with the county to get the security grant reinstated, and going through the county is going to take a little time, but at some point we'll have that. Okay, all the financials are posted as of end of August. Our total checking and savings was $437,677.38. Our expenses for August were $26,541.54, and that included the 13,500 that we had to pay back to the county, so that's why it's so high. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Ross, you give us the architectural committee report.
Sure. As we said in last month's meeting, some letters were going to start going out and they have started. And I've got some receipts back that they've been received. I've also had 2 architectural drawings and things submitted. And I don't see the homeowners on here, so I'm not going to mention their names, but one particular homeowner on Kahukai sent an incredible, they followed every letter of the CCNRs for what they wanted to do. It was so impressive just to see that checked off all the way. So we're going to continue working on the CCNRs and approving plans so that people can get their homes built in accordance. So we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you, Ross. We'll have Mary Ann give the Aloha Committee report.
Yes, aloha neighbors. I am part of the Aloha Committee, and our mission or our purpose is to bring people together to create a better community. That's what our hopes for. And we had our first meet and greet in July, which was great. We had a small group that joined us and talked story and got to meet people and you know, just there was no agenda. It was just about getting together. We had local information available through our Aloha packet. Neighborhood Watch was represented. We had refreshments. I had some plants and cuttings because that's my thing. One of the things I like and how I got started here in the community. And anyway, so that's just my thing. And our next meet and greet will be Saturday, October 30th from 4 to 5 p.m. And of course, COVID requirements with distancing and everything will be in place. So we'll probably meet out in the pavilion. How that goes, I'm not exactly sure. If we can't meet under the pavilion, we'll set up at the edge of the pavilion. So please join us, everyone that in the community that wants to meet and greet. It's just that simple. Just talk story and have some refreshments. We had a big problem with fire ants, and I thought it was urgent that we deal with it sooner than later. And we got 2 bids and did the first treatment September 2nd. We are getting a 3rd bid, but we couldn't get that until the 14th. And several of the kids were getting, especially in the playground area. I found them everywhere, around all the base of the palm trees, just everywhere and around the pavilion. So I'm really glad we got that done. So that's my report.
All right, thank you, Mary Ann. Do we have a maintenance manager report for tonight?
Right here.
All right. Oh, my-
Michael.
You see here? He's coming. Oh, just lost the camera again. Folks, I lost the camera. I don't know if I can start it again. If not, Michael, here we go.
Good evening. So currently right now, I just finished monthly mowing of our shoulders. I'm currently working on our sign poles. If you're noticing out there, the poles are turning white. That's from the asphalt. I'm on the next stage of painting it with some galvanized coating. And also I got 5 stop signs that came in. So I have changed out the 5 bad ones so far. I'm gonna get 5 more coming in next week. And I'm gonna keep on doing this process until we take care of all the signs that need to be replaced and all the poles that need to be painted up and get back to how it used to be. Yes, like how Mary Ann said, the fire ants has been sprayed. I have seen a lot changes already. Most likely, we're gonna have to do a few more times in order to get a full grip on it, but so far they're working pretty fast and pretty good. Our sidearm, I got a message from them that they're still waiting on a seal for the kingpin. As soon as that was back ordered, as soon as that comes in, they're hoping by next week they'll get back the tractor to us as soon as possible. So hopefully in the next week or two, we should be getting it back here. And then I will start doing that all over again.
Michael, question for you. Can you tell us what we did fire ant other than just the playground?
We did basically the whole property, the whole LCA property here, around the building, our ball field, our walkways, basically everything that's here. They treated all the palm trees. That's where one of the major areas were. Yeah, that's where we're at so far.
Thank you.
Michael, I have a question.
Sure.
Don't walk away yet.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Hey, because the county is not, they're only taking one more width down Leilani.
Right.
And I knew before they used to go all the way back to the back of the telephone poles. If we get permission from the county to do a sidearm on Leilani, how long do you think it would take for you to go from the top to the bottom, sidearming the areas that the county is no longer maintaining, so that we can have a lot, I guess the question is, a lot prettier neighborhood?
Yeah, that's all the overgrown areas or the entire avenue?
Just just sidearming the avenue.
About 2 to 3 days, I can do the whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that answered that question. Thank you.
I have a question for Michael. What about a lot of the cane grass on the side that's not getting mowed? Is that because of the sidearm?
Yes, yes. If it gets overgrown too bad where it starts hitting the vehicles, I try to push it back with the tractor that we have on hand now. But that's the best I can do until I can get the sidearm back.
Okay, thank you.
And Lee, with regard to your question, we probably just need, because Michael will do, whatever we instruct.
Yeah.
Do we want to do the streets before Leilani? Which one is the highest priority? You don't have to answer now, but it's something for us to consider so we can take care of, the worst spots first.
Mhm.
Well, correct. And I know Phil Denny and I have gone out and weeded it around the signposts on Leilani, just because the county has not done that, just so it looks a lot better here. So, I'm okay with us helping them out. I just didn't know how much time it was going to take. That was it.
Okay. Any further questions for Michael? From anyone?
Mhm.
Okay. We have someone from Neighborhood Watch that can give us a report on what's going on.
Yeah, I guess I could do that.
Right.
There's been nothing out of the ordinary. We have the usual problems, Miley, Upper Malama, and Alapai. There was some problems there, but there's nothing unusual, more than the normal bad things going on.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can you hear me, Kayla? Can I ask a
Yeah.
question?
Sure.
I just wanted to ask Greg, we did the Halloween drive-by thing last year. I don't know if there's any plans to do anything like that again. I really enjoyed that, so.
Yeah, we've been talking about it, but we were hoping the COVID rules are going to be over so we could do a big thing in the pavilion. But right now we don't know what's happening, but at the very least, it would be same as last year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, so let's move on to unfinished business and general orders. As far as approved expenses since our last board meeting. Can we go over that? Greg?
Okay, actually, we don't have anything. Any expenses that we've had have been under the 500, just our normal bills. The only thing that was over was the Okahara, and we had approved that total bill prior with a prior meeting, and they just been billing us in increments. So that, I think that was the last increment on that one.
Okay,
Other than that, everything's been normal.
all right. How much did it cost us for the fire ant?
$450.
$150.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that one too, that was kind of treated like an emergency. So the quotes that are coming in would be, you know, for ongoing.
correct. Okay. All right. Thanks. Let's go on expenses to be approved. That's you again, Greg.
Yeah, every time I just unclick and we have nothing that needs to be approved right now.
Okay. All right. So on here, secret committee dissolution, I move that we dissolve the secret committee. Okay, the floor is open for debate on that.
Payola, isn't it basically true that the same tasks are being completed otherwise by the architectural committee, or am I wrong there?
That's correct. Lee and Ross are doing a good job. They, like I said, they've already eliminated 3 squatters out of the community. And they're doing an awesome job at that kind of stuff. So
Would like to point out again, Ross has reiterated this, that per the previous board's admission, they purchased 8 cameras, and we have yet to receive the receipts for those 8 cameras and or the location or the actual equipment. So I want that to go on the record that they, the previous board previously stated that they had purchased 8 cameras, 8 additional cameras on top of the ones that we were already using and the ones that were donated. And that equipment has never been returned to the LCA. So we don't know where that equipment is. We don't know what the status is, or we don't know anything about it. It's been kept secret from the present or this current board. And I just want to reiterate that.
correct. Thank you, Lee. So going back to my motion, any debate on that motion then from the board?
No,
Nope.
Okay, so we'll close debate. So the question is that we move to dissolve the secret committee. We'll go ahead, all those who approve, go do a roll call vote. Lee?
Kayla,
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Greg,
Yes,
Lee, no. Phil,
Yes.
Marianne,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, the motion has been approved. The secret committee is dissolved. All right, so just recently, what was it, yesterday, that we had the gate situation come up on Muckamai Street? Jim, will you give us, since had you down there looking at that, can you give us an update on that and what's going on?
yeah. Actually, it was 3 or 4 days ago. We had a man who owns 2 lots on Makamai come in and file a complaint. It took a while to get organized and figure out which lots and where they were and so on. So yes, today I went down and looked at the green gates, which are located essentially on Malama and Makamai, set back from Malama probably by, I don't know, 25 yards maybe. According to the people that live on the street, they got permission from the board last year to put those in. And I think it was February 10th or whatever. We can go back and look, I can post that, but supposedly either on the minutes or the video, there was a discussion and the board approved permission for them to put them in. Of course, they're on the easement, which it's kind of just debatable about who owns the easement, but of course it's not the lot owner's proper. Nevertheless, the gate is there, and the complaint essentially was that this individual didn't like them, and if they weren't torn down by the 20th, he would tear them down. So very, no time for conversation, discussion. That's just the way it works. I've spoken to the owners there, of course, gotten their version of what happened, and I have no reason to doubt that. But this individual, nevertheless, is threatening to show up and pull the gates down with the police, whatever. So at the moment, that's as of late this afternoon. I tried to speak to the individual, the complainant, and he was just kind of a belligerent attitude. But we'll keep on working and see what we come up with. However, the more expanded issue is if they're allowed to have a gate, then we have to get into, can other people have gates? And so the issue is a little bit more involved than just dealing with the gate on Makamai. So that's the report that I can give at this time.
Okay. As far as I know, according to the IRS, with homeowner associations, gates are not allowed. All roads have to have public access. So that is an issue. That is a problem. At least it would be with the IRS, because we could actually lose the 501c4 status because of that.
Keola, this is Phil Denny. What was a county building permit obtained for this construction?
I have no idea about the history of this gate.
I see. What was permission from the owner of the road obtained? Do you know?
I would suspect not, even though
Okay.
we maintain the roads and take care of it, and ownership, obviously, we don't actually own the roads. That's still something we're working on. Yeah, by all accounts, it's actually illegal to have that gate there, or at least according to the IRS, it can't be there. Because we can lose our status over something like that.
So it appears to me, Keola, that we, the board, need to get together and figure out a go forward plan with regard
Okay.
to the gate
Yeah.
and gates.
Because I definitely don't have an answer for that tonight. I don't know enough about the whole situation, but it does seem like we can't have one there anyway.
Yeah, and I explained to the individual that it's highly unlikely that we'll have anything resolved to have something removed if that's necessary by the 20th, but that wasn't a satisfactory answer, so we'll just see what happens.
Okay.
Keola, this is Phil Denny again. Could our maintenance manager remove this gate, Michael Honea?
I don't know if he'd have the equipment to do that. Isn't it? You looked at it, Jim, right? So how is
Yes.
it put into the ground or
It's
attached?
substantial and it's cemented in.
It's cemented in.
4 inch by 4 inch posts on either side and pretty unmovable. It's a heavy gate.
I would have to say that'd be something Michael would have to look at, Phil.
Mhm.
That he would have to determine whether that was possible or not.
Okay, just a thought. I think the gate needs to go, in my opinion, but
Any
Yola,
other-
this is Greg. If that's the case, what you're saying about the IRS, all those barricades that are up likely need to come down too, yeah?
Yeah, you're right, Greg. In fact, you can't even have no trespassing signs on the sides of the roads, according to the IRS. So.
Okay,
Any other? Yes,
I would just, if whoever this guy is, since he's, I don't know if he's on this meeting or not, but it would be advisable to him before he takes things into his own hands or actions into his own hands, that if he decides to do so, he is assuming all reliability for any damages or any injuries incurred, that they are not going to be LCA, that he is assuming all reliability for damages and any personal injuries resulting from him removing that gate. Just put it out there publicly.
Okay. Jim, will you work with this person and get back to us?
Well, yeah, I'll try again, and I'm also going to probably possibly involve Lee, because he has some ideas as well. But yes,
Okay.
we'll do our best to get this resolved.
Okay, well, we can be able to discuss this through phone, email, or whatever else as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So which brings us to our last item of business for today, talking about the lawsuit. The LCA is plaintiff. Just real quick, just to kind of answer, to begin with, just kind of answer just some questions for this. So this was from, I think, Ann Calber. Is the LCA membership fully aware that they have been made the plaintiff in current lawsuit against former board of directors? I would say that the LCA membership is aware. I posted my report from the August 22nd meeting we had to both Facebook pages, to Nextdoor, and also to the LCA website. So, and you know, I know many people, a lot of people don't really go to the website, wish they would, because that's where we kind of post all the official stuff. But nevertheless, do members realize that the legal fees will be paid by their dues? I would think most would. My other point to that would be that the $90 increase that happened, what, 2 years ago about, if you look at what was spent with that $90, it all went to legal fees. If you account, say, $90 and everybody, and maybe 1,300 people actually paid, that comes out to $117,000, which the last board spent over that amount just in legal stuff. But of course, we also do get money in other ways. Greg could tell us more about that if anyone needed to know. Has to do with the tower. How much will the trial cost the LCA in terms of legal fees? That I don't know. We actually don't want it to go to trial, never have wanted it to go to trial. Just a little bit of history on this lawsuit. For myself and others that did get involved in trying to correct things from the last board, it started long before we ever got an attorney involved, because we tried every means possible to get the board to self-correct before we even got an attorney. I know many members within the community also did as well. And as I've been looking through the invoices from the attorneys, Lincoln, Ashita, and Michelle, a lot of the fees that came out for these various member problems were just things, a lot of it just not working with members is what it looked like to me. And trying to avoid allowing members to have documents that they have a right to. I know that was also something in my own case. Actually, I see a hand by Mark Ellis. Mark, you.
Be on mute, Mark.
How about now? Am I unmuted?
Yes.
I don't want my hand raised.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to, well, first of all, just thanks for all your efforts. I mean, I really appreciate you guys being willing to spend your time and energy as board members. I can barely manage one day a week on Neighborhood Watch. So thanks. And Keola, I hope you're doing well. But I did want to ask when the decision was made for the membership to be the plaintiff and why that decision was made. Maybe Mr. Denny, can you explain that decision? Those the two decisions?
I'll take the question because he wasn't there anyway. So the decision was really originally made April 5th. But it took a while before things developed to a point where that was possible. And Phil Denny was not on the board at that time.
Okay.
And basically those of us that were on the board felt that those things that the previous board was doing were against not only our bylaws, they went against our charter, they went against our CCNRs, and that they had done plenty of harm to the community by some of the things they said that weren't true.
Well, if I can interrupt, sorry, only not to interrupt what you're saying particularly, but because it's not really answering my question. So you decided back in April, but I'm asking why we were made the plaintiffs, why we members were made the plaintiffs, and without consulting us, that's a big decision for the membership to be plaintiffs in a lawsuit that was started privately before you guys were board members.
All right, it goes back to the laws, both in the bylaws that the board of directors can take actions on behalf of the HOA of the LCA. So if you go into, if you go into the laws, 414D, so these are things that as you get on the board, or even you don't even have to be on the board, I would encourage all members to read these various documents, read our bylaws, read our CCNRs, read our charter, and if you have time, read chapter or HRS 421J and HRS 414D to help understand the various things that you need to do while you're a board member, and how you conduct certain things, and how you do things properly.
Okay, I really appreciate that as board members, you have the ability to make decisions for the LCA. However, this was a private lawsuit that began a year ago. And I'm sure it's been very expensive already for both plaintiffs and defendants. But I personally want no part in a lawsuit against my fellow LCA members and neighbors. And I don't want our HOA to incur the mounting fees. So I would think this would have been a decision that would be presented to us members before it was made. And you know, that's when we needed to hear your arguments before we became the plaintiffs.
Okay, I hear you. Yeah, well, we made that decision. So, and actually it was a derivative lawsuit. So I don't know if you understand that. Basically, we were saying we were acting on best behalf of the LCA because the board was not.
But again, that sure sounds like because it's going to cost us and our dues. That's a decision that should be, I mean, I'm part of the plaintiff. Now I'm considered a plaintiff. And to me, this is unproductive, expensive, and unnecessary. And so I'd sure like to see this. As a plaintiff, I would like to end the lawsuit.
Okay, I hear you. Okay,
Thanks.
wait,
Can I ask a question?
just a
What
second.
part of the, what part of the dues is going towards the lawsuit, Mark?
Well, I'm asking if the LCA are the plaintiff, then there are attorney's fees, court fees, insurance fees.
But
So,
I guess my question is, what part of the dues that you pay are going towards the lawsuit? Please elaborate.
well, you'll have to tell me, or the board members who were the original litigants. Maybe you guys can explain to me how it's going to be paid.
Well, Kayla, let me interrupt me if you can.
Because if I'm not
The
mistaken,
dues are not-
Kayla mentioned that we have the dues, and he said so much of those dues went to legal fees, so that's where they're going to go now.
On
If I
the
understood him
prior,
right.
on the prior board, the prior board was illegal in, Kayla, correct me if I'm wrong, the dues that you pay to the LCA are only to go to road maintenance and maintenance of the facilities. It is not to go towards lawsuits.
Okay,
previous-
just a second, Lee.
Okay,
So
thank you.
dues, part of dues can go for that stuff. What they did wrong was in increasing the dues from 110 to 200, they included legal fees as part of that due increase. And the bylaws specifically say that if you're gonna go above 10%, then to not automatically incur a member vote on that, you can't have anything part of that that is other than maintenance and repair of your facilities and your roads. Anything that's else that was part of that has to become an automatic vote by the members.
Okay,
And that didn't
Thank you.
happen. So that's what made that increase in the dues illegal and improper. So,
thank you.
Ann and Mick, I see your hand was up next, so I'll ask to unmute.
Sure, and I would like to have Robin, who was in front of me, if she would step up, and then I'll
Oh,
go
did
right
I miss her?
on.
Okay,
Put her down, but I would love to have her go first, please.
okay, let me, okay. Go ahead, Robin.
Thank you. I want to thank the board for assigning an agenda item to allow members of LCA to ask questions and voice their concerns about the current lawsuit and LCA as plaintiff. After Paola posted his special meeting president's report, I began to run into Leilani neighbors who wanted to talk about the lawsuit. Jeff and I would encounter neighbors when we were out walking or at the store, and I received a couple of phone calls. It became obvious through these conversations that a lot of LCA members were talking about it and that they had a lot of questions. So rather than continuing to talk and assume among ourselves, it occurred to a few of us to go directly to the source by attending tonight's meeting. This is when I contacted the board to request an agenda item. I do have a few opening remarks to make. We are in the midst of uncertain economic times. Big Island jobs related to the tourist industry have been lost with no replacements in sight, and the freeze on mortgage payments has ended. The loss of homes in Leilani due to the eruption have reduced LCA's revenue. Hawaii County and the Hawaii State are overextended, and COVID is the wild card. My point is, our community can't count on revenues as we have in the past to cover LCA's operating expenses and any future emergencies that may arise. And we now know, perhaps more than ever before, how costly roads are. Now we LCA members have a new and unexpected financial burden, the court costs, attorney fees, and increasing insurance rates as plaintiffs in a lawsuit we never agreed to. This is a time to conserve our financial resources even more than usual and plan ahead to create reserves that will carry us through lean times if needed. This or any lawsuit will suck up our precious resources. We simply cannot afford it. It is also apparent to many that the litigations within the LCA have been detrimental to Leilani's sense of community, creating a major division, which will not heal as long as we are divided in opposition to each other. I am here to ask the board to end the lawsuit, to not only grow and preserve our financial resources, which we require for our safety and well-being. Lost my place. But to also end the lawsuit, to promote an atmosphere which will allow us as a community to focus on the goals we have in common and not on our differences.
Is there a specific question that you would like to ask the board?
Well, I'd like to ask the board to end the lawsuit.
Okay,
But no, I have said what I wanted to say. And I think you will receive more questions.
can I ask why you're coming out now and you weren't coming out a year ago with these concerns?
Well, we've just become the plaintiffs in
No,
the
when you were the
trial.
defendants, why did you not come out prior when Andy Andrews and the previous board were the defendants? Why did you not come out prior to this? Because this lawsuit's been going on for some time now, and you're only coming out as the plaintiff. But what about when the LCA was the defendants? Why now? Why all of a sudden are you concerned about the expenses versus the previous board's expenses? I just need to, I need to ask you that explanation. Why you are concerned now and you were not concerned a year ago?
It's not that I wasn't concerned a year ago, but I didn't want to participate. I
Then
chose
why
not to
didn't you ask
participate
this
in this.
question?
Why
don't
do I
want
ask
you
this
to
question?
debate.
Because I
Okay.
believe,
Call the order, call the order.
Okay, thank you.
Let's keep this civil here. So I think that's probably one of my questions for, a lot of people is there are many of us that were trying to say, why are you spending so much money on legal fees? And this was more than a year ago. And this is what led to us finally. I mean, we tried every option we could to get the previous board to cut spending on so many things. And one of them was huge, was the legal expenses. So going to an attorney and finally getting the attorney was the last option we had because there was no listening to us before that. And so I think that's maybe where Lee's coming from, is that there were only a few of us that said anything about why are you spending so much money. But are you done, Robin? If you are, I'm going to turn over to Ann and Mick.
that's good.
Okay, Ann and Mick.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to voice my concern regarding the board making the LCA members the plaintiff of the lawsuit. I would like to have a voice in this decision because the community doesn't need this lawsuit. This lawsuit was brought about by individuals that shows that the old board was wrong. And there were many of us that were trying to support the board and did not see their actions as illegal or against. As I've said before, boards are run in many different forms and in many different ways. And the next board will run the board different. To my knowledge, there has been no illegal motions made by our past board. So that's where I'm coming from. So let me continue. The 4 LCA community members who originally filed the private lawsuits against the previous boards are Keola Bandman, Valerie Bandman, Marianne Farrell, and Ross Sednick, excuse me. On March of this year, they turned their plaintiff position over to Phil Denny, who at that time was on the LCA board. And then recently there have been talk of making the LCA members the plaintiff. I wasn't confirmed yet if it was an actual vote. And I asked the board, is this a conflict of interest to have 4 board members who were once plaintiffs to this private lawsuit, naming the LCA as plaintiff in their lawsuit? Only 2 of those board members were voted by LCA, and 2 of the members were added after the election. Many of the items that Keola listed in his president's address can now be changed by our current board. You know, I support this board as I supported the other ones. This is not an easy job to step up, but with the lawsuit and with the actions that people have said, have taken on, as a member of the board, you got a target on your back. People come after you, you know, and that's why, you know, the numbers were so small on our elections, you know. How many of the items listed in president's address can be changed? Why, after a year of litigations, are you still requesting wrongdoings or any fault by the past board to be brought to attention? To be added? You know, if you're still looking for elements to go after that board, you know, it's time to stop. It's time to stop. Dragging the lawsuit along is not doing our community any good. Your plate is already full. The lawsuit has hurt all parties involved financially and emotionally. It's hurt the Leilani community, pitting neighbor against neighbor. So I feel I need to end this lawsuit. You need to end this lawsuit and allow the community to heal. The support, I will support and continue to support this board in their efforts to revitalize the Leilani community, but I can't support their continued lawsuit against former board members. Do you want to be right, or do you want to heal this community and move on? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I just have one question. How should the LCA membership be named plaintiffs without anybody asking? The board can just decide that arbitrarily without.
Yeah, because if you look at it, the previous board, so this is how the HOAs, this is how nonprofit business organizations are set up. The board of directors has the ability to act on behalf of the membership. So this is all part of those documents I say everyone needs to read. The laws.
Act on behalf means they can make us plaintiffs.
And they can also raise the dues as they did, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, the same thing is being done now that they're being accused of.
Well, except that they didn't follow they didn't follow the rules and what they were supposed to do.
So you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So any other questions?
No.
No, Nick? Okay. I'll go ahead. Can you drop, I don't know if you can drop your hand by yourself or not. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, Valerie.
Hello.
Yes.
So I just, so the lawsuits and the paperwork and stuff that the previous board, that they were in when they went against, people filing stuff against people in the community, I guess it would be the same, that is kind of the same thing. I mean, where was everybody? We were saying that back then. Where was everybody back then when the board was making those decisions? I'm not quite understanding why it's just this board, because the previous board did it and they spent over $160,000. And it wasn't just things that were filed against the board. It was things that the board was filing against members in the community, harassing and sicking attorneys on members of the community and filing lawsuits. So I think we need to remember that also. I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that that was part of the reason why we were trying to look out for the best of the community. The current lawsuit, it is my understanding, the only way to correct and not have a board go rogue and do things correctly is to have it corrected. We have, you're asking the current board to end the lawsuit, but you could also ask the people that are the plaintiff, that are the defendants, to end the lawsuit. We've gone to mediation. We've gone several times to the table. They asked for a resolution to go to the table. And then when we went, they had absolutely nothing. They didn't come up with any resolution. As a matter of fact, they said nothing. They had nothing to bring to the table. We asked for a resolution several times. If we want to heal, then maybe somebody needs to approach them and tell them to stop the lawsuit, because they can do it too. They can do it too. And that's what I want to say.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Next person will be Petra. Is that Petra? Is it
Yes.
Weisenbauer?
Yes,
Okay.
my name is Petra Biesenbauer, and I own 2 lots on Makamai Street that are now under law. It was a very traumatic event for all of us. And at the time, the people that were on the board, to me, were miracle workers, because they not only dealt with their own personal situation, but they also tried to deal with what was going on and tried to deal with, the county civil defense and other entities, where there was a situation where there was complete uncertainty and complete unwillingness from the official sides to work with our association board and our community. And I feel that certain decisions were made, also people trying to do their very best at a time when there was complete, survival. People were evacuated. We were actually in a it was like a military zone almost. People were trying to hide. People were trying to get their stuff out. So it was complete chaos. It was very emotional, and I feel, so we obviously, are no longer living in Leilani. We have purchased a house in HPP in the meantime. And initially, I was quite involved still in the community, but I want to say, because of the polarization and the toxicity, I had to personally step back from being involved. And you asked the question, why did people not get involved a year ago? And I can tell you why. Because first of all, I felt like I was really trying to put my life back together. So in selfish, action, I basically focused on my family. I have two my son is in the meantime 19, my daughter is gonna be 17. So there was a lot of stuff going on. These kids were in, like complete trauma because of all this, losing home, losing community, losing friends. And I feel like, that this was going on for many of us. And then the other reason I stepped, really back was, or why I didn't get involved, is I did not feel represented by this lawsuit. I felt like that this board, the last board, was also doing their very best under the circumstances. Now, we all, have personalities. We all have certain goals, but I felt that this board was representing me as best as they could. And you are doing the same thing, or at least I'm hoping you are doing the same thing. I want to support the current Leilani board. But again, I do not feel represented in this lawsuit. I don't have this problem. And I feel like we need to move forward. We cannot get stuck. I'm a therapist, marriage and family therapist. I work with people that have experienced trauma. And one of the things that happens is that people get stuck in the trauma and they are triggered by different events and they respond in their stuckness. I don't want to be stuck and I don't want this lawsuit. And I feel like it's not representing a big portion of this community, especially being now pushed into the position as a LCA member to be a part of the plaintiff. And since you, as the LCA board, with several members who were individuals that started this big lawsuit, you are also the ones who need to stop it. That's it. I feel this is your responsibility. This cannot be pushed on to the defendants. And I feel there is a big conflict of interest that you started this lawsuit as private citizens, then later on went onto the board and now made it a problem for the whole community. I am not represented by this board, by this lawsuit. And I want to clearly express this and also have this put on record that this lawsuit will be stopped and that we move on, that we start to heal, and that we get away from this constant polarization and this fear of threat. Because we don't have to, the times have moved on. We got to accept that. We all who lost homes had to accept that times have moved on. And I would like the board to do the same thing. So
Okay.
this is what I want to share.
Thank you, Petra. Unfortunately, we continue to have problems with these people because they don't cooperate whatsoever at all as far as things that belong to the LCA.
What cooperation do you want? They're
We
no
would-
longer on the board. You're on the board. Now you're in the driver's seat. Drive, but let that lawsuit drop
Okay,
it.
will you listen, please? We still have files missing, financial files that we need. That if we were to have an audit or the IRS were to audit us, we would be in big trouble because there are financial records and documents missing. We have cameras missing. We have no idea where they're at. We've asked for all kinds of information that we should have, and we don't have it. So they continue to hinder the work that we're trying to do. So that's all I have. The next one is David. David, I'm gonna ask to mute you.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to come out in support of the lawsuit. I believe there are many people in the community who believe what is right and what is wrong. That the board did do illegal actions. If not, then this board or any other board can double, triple, whatever they want to do to your dues for any reason they see fit to do so. I understand people are concerned about costs, yet they're not concerned about the $90 they've already lost that the previous board cost them. Instead, they're worried about some nebulous funds that may or may not occur in the future. You know, I personally, I believe the previous board should be under criminal charges for their actions. And I would like to see this lawsuit continue. And I'd like the board to be, the previous board to be held accountable so that these types of actions cannot occur again in the future. They talk about, well, let's forgive and forget, you know, but you know, if the fox has already taken the chickens out of the hen house, you know, do you say, oh, well, we'll just go ahead and forget that because he got away with it? You know, we're saying, well, let's not worry about these people because you can just go ahead and reverse their actions. Well, who's going to reverse the next board's actions or the board after that? You know, it just seems to me like, you know, maybe a few friends of the previous board have gotten together and said, look, let's just bring this out here now. But personally, I'm of the opinion, if you do wrong, you should be held accountable. And if you haven't done wrong, well, let's let the courts decide it, because personally, the previous board is, you know, they're continuing the lawsuit too. So it's not incumbent upon this current board to say, okay, we forgive you, and whatever you did that was illegal, we just let that go. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. And I really think that if they want healing to happen, that the previous board can admit to their wrongdoing, they can return to the LCA its property, and we can then move on. But with this previous board, I don't see that happening. Having attended meetings with them and the like, I saw no cooperation on their part, no concern for the community, and this lawsuit needs to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, in order, let's see, Mark. Ellis?
Well, many of you can have different opinions, but litigating at a meeting seems unethical in an ongoing lawsuit. And expecting the defendants to end the lawsuit doesn't make any sense. They don't want this lawsuit. They are being sued. Thirdly, the costs involved, you complained about the previous costs due to legal fees. You sued them. That's why there are those costs. Mr. Denny sued the board previous to that. That led to more costs. These if we didn't sue each other, then we could avoid all this. And I don't see any point in continuing this money drain that's dividing the neighborhood. If you want to litigate, then post all your claims publicly on the LCA website, and we can then decide.
They are posted. It is posted.
All the claims that are in this lawsuit?
In the complaint, yes, it's posted on the LCA website.
Okay. And you've got,
and for your information, all court proceedings are public knowledge. You can get all court proceedings. They're all available to the public.
Okay. And then my last question, I will check those out. My last question is again, why, rather than give an officious reason for why you made the membership the plaintiffs in what was your own lawsuit, now we're responsible for it. Why you did that? And I know that you can, but what is the reasoning and why would we not have to approve something like that? I mean, wouldn't that be the ethical thing to do? If your lawsuit is valid and I'll look and see what your claims are, but we have to be told that we're the plaintiffs. And now that we know that, we're stuck with it without knowing what we're suing for. We're suing these people. And I never saw a valid reason for, I mean, I disagree with Mr. Dye on pretty much all points. But you vote people out of office. That's how you make change.
Okay, so yeah, if you read that, the complaint, it's on the LCA website.
How do,
And how do we give input as
What do you mean?
plaintiffs?
What you're doing right now.
That's our only source, or that's our only
Well,
way to?
you can always contact us through email or whatever. Yes.
Okay.
And are you listening?
Richard's
That's
up
my big
next.
question.
Richard's up next.
Okay, we have Richard up next.
how can I get my hand up? I can't get my hand up.
I don't want you to just stay quiet.
Richard, are you up?
I was trying to figure out how to unmute.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So, wow. For the past year, I felt like the Lone Ranger complaining about legal expenses, but now I finally got company, sounds like. I'm not sure why it wasn't an issue for the last year, like it was with me, but it's refreshing to see people are up in arms about it at this point. You may remember that last summer in the July meeting, actually it started in June, but in the July meeting that we held in the pavilion, I pointed out that Andy Andrews' legal expenses report that was posted in June of 2020 showed just $5,400 in legal expenses for his first 9 months tenure as the board president. The report was misleading in that the posted P&L statements clearly showed that tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees were paid during those months. Multiple times, month after month, I requested that the legal expenses report be updated to accurately reflect LCA's legal expenses. That never happened. So, using the information that's posted on the LCA website, I updated the LCA legal expenses report, and the legal fees that were incurred and paid by the previous boards for the past 2 fiscal years total.
I know.
Someone else is speaking.
Yeah,
Total.
someone needs to turn off their.
Kathy.
Okay.
Total legal fees. Total $168,628. I mean, that's
Can
crazy.
you repeat that?
For the previous 2 fiscal years, April 1, 2019 to March 31, 2021, the total spent on legal expenses, legal fees, was $168,628. I'd be happy to send the updated report to you to post it on the website, or if anybody wants a copy, just let me know. I can send a copy, or I can drop it off with Kim and you can pick up copies. But it's pretty amazing to me that, like Valerie said, they raised our dues $90 a year, and that's $117,000, but they spent $168,000 in legal expenses. So I suspect that although there's 30 some odd people on this call, I suspect that the majority of LCA members had no idea that this amount of LCA funds were being spent on legal fees, while nothing was being done by the previous 2 years' boards to repair our streets like Moku, Kupana, and Malama. So back to the point that a couple of people have made, you know, the current lawsuit was originally filed on behalf of us as the members. It was a derivative lawsuit filed on behalf of LCA against individual board members for their malfeasance and apparent illegal actions. The D&O insurance company appointed an attorney, Michelle Luke, to represent the individual defendants, and LCA paid a $10,000 deductible, as I understand. Even so, the previous board used tens of thousands of LCA funds for LCA's attorney to help with their individual offenses. Like David Dye, it's my opinion that this was maybe misappropriation of funds.
That's right.
In comparison, just this board, this current board, in the first 5 months of their tenure, has just spent over $1,500 in legal fees. So, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm still upset about legal fees. I'm upset about the last 2 years' legal fees, and I'm concerned about the ongoing legal fees. I'm hoping that with the change to make LCA the plaintiff, that I know we'll see legal expenses increase. I'll continue to watch it, and I'll hold you accountable for it, just like I held the last board accountable. But I hope that the defendants will be held accountable and that they have to make reimbursement to the LCA for their misuse of LCA funds. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, Jim Hefner.
Bravo, Richard.
Jim Hefner. Hello?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can get a video here. Okay. I also want to join with those that are opposed to the lawsuit. And I have 2 or 3 points to make. Number one is, in our judicial system, we have the presumption of innocence, and there has been no judicial conclusion as to this lawsuit. So I would please ask people, you're all welcome to your opinion that person X was illegally did act Y, but we need to be aware that there has been no adjudication of this lawsuit. And so statements that the previous board did illegal things is really not justifiable at this point. Number two, I want to address the statement that the justification for the lawsuit is to prevent future boards of directors from misappropriating money or taking action which is not in the best interest of the membership. But I will point out that the judge has ruled that the action that was recently taken to appoint the LCA members as plaintiff was legal. And but the question, my point is, while legal, to actually invoke that legal option by going forward with this lawsuit, the board is now setting a precedent that future boards can also take. And that is where they can now begin to sue individual members and have those lawsuits paid for by the LCA members.
I'm sorry, just to interrupt you, this would not be precedent.
Why would it not be precedent?
Because it has happened before elsewhere in the state.
Well, that may or may not be, I don't know that for a fact.
I do know, I know that.
Well, even though this action may not be a precedent, to continue the precedent is not an advisable thing to do. And my final point is, I just checked the LCA website and there have been no motions from the lawsuit posted on the website since March 16th, at which point the previous board lost the election and the new board has taken over. So the new board has not posted the motions, the publicly available motions, and the responses by the defendants. That's all I have to say.
Okay, that's something I guess we need to correct then. Trying to get them in order. So if we can kind of summarize people's thoughts, please.
Kayla,
Just a second, we got Petra.
whoever the iPhone is, they should lower their hand because we don't know who that person is.
Petra, I'm trying to get you to unmute.
Okay, I have a few more things that I would like to add. So first of all, the legal fees, obviously, that were incurred by the previous board. A huge portion of this is that they were sued and they did not initiate this suit. The second point I want to make is that board members on a board are usually protected by an insurance that each organization should have, where board members are sued, or when board members are sued, that they're protected as individuals, unless there is basically a proven guilt. Because if you're sticking out your neck and you volunteer to be on a board, the chance that you get sued is obviously a lot bigger than if you're just a private citizen. And so I am very sure that the LCA also has an insurance for in case board members are being sued. So this statement that the board members used LCA funds for their personal legal fees, to me, it does not sound right.
What?
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll kind of explain that. What Richard meant was, once the insurance agency gets an attorney, there's a deductible that they pay, that the board has to pay for that attorney. After that, then the insurance covers the rest. So what Richard was saying is, even though that process had been worked out, they still continue to use their attorney to still work on the issue. Which what should happen is the attorney comes in that's hired by the insurance agency. They transition with whoever is the general counsel for your board, and then that person no longer works on the lawsuit. So what Richard was saying is, basically they spent an additional $20,000 to Lincoln Ashita that didn't need to go to him, because the insurance company had already hired someone to do that work. So they were continuing, so it's like double spending. That's what Richard was trying to say. Okay. Jeff Delaney.
Hi, Carol, thanks.
Hello.
So, there seems to me that there's a lot of disinformation rolling around here. So once again, I'd like to point out that, your complaint, the 150 something complaints against the previous board, none of them have been substantiated in the course of law. And you have not won or proved anything in the court of law yet. So they're all just that accusations. Most of them are rambling and long-winded, and it's he said, she said, and
Jeff,
probably none of them are true.
Wait, Jeff, just a minute before you go on.
No, please let me finish, Carol.
Okay, I'll let you
allow me to
finish.
finish.
Go
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I want to restate that none of your accusations have been proven. So that's all they are, is accusations. Now, concerning legal fees, what Andy tried to do on some of the legal fees, he tried to show what legal fees were associated with the Denny lawsuit that was brought forth under a previous board. So I know people talk fast and loose with legal fees, but they need to pay attention that a lot of those fees were from lawsuits filed previously. And then fees were spent in defense of the lawsuit that you filed. So, the majority of those fees were for those items. And then there were other various threats of lawsuits from other people that they had to defend and spend legal money on. I don't believe that someone stated that the prior board filed lawsuits. I don't think they filed any lawsuits. That wasn't true. So I just think that there's a lot of mistruths going on. You know, and someone said that the former board did nothing on the roads or anything. They did a lot of work on the roads. They got the grant. They did the RFP, the engineering studies. The reason they didn't start work on the roads, because if they would have, they wouldn't have gotten the grants. You know, then FEMA would have said, oh, since you can afford to do it yourself, you don't qualify for a grant. So the board held off on actually doing work on the roads until they could get the proposal and get the grant money rather than pay for it out of LCA coffers. No one wants to talk about that. So the only reason you guys are able to do anything on the road is because the previous board did all the legwork beforehand. They got the grant, they got the engineering study, they got the request for proposals, they set it all up for you. Concerning the cameras, do you have any proof that the cameras are ever purchased? Do you have receipts? Or that's just assumptions you're making? And you know, some of the other things you say that the board said. Also, you know, when the former board left before that board took place, they also absconded with a lot of financial and legal papers. A lot of them were at former board members' houses and at former treasurers' houses, and they were never returned, and there was no cooperation. So, and I also agree that, you know, you guys shouldn't blame everything on the past board. You're in the driver's seat. You can make things right. If you don't like the $90 dues increase, repeal it. You know, you're there, so do it. Don't try to be mean-spirited and, you know, look for revenge, because from our point of view, it looks like you're just looking for revenge. You got your feelings hurt.
Okay, are you, is that it, Jeff?
For right now, I'll have more to say later.
Okay, we're not gonna keep this going much longer, so just well, right, you know, as far as some things, well, it's not been taken to court yet, and hopefully it never gets there.
So yeah, I mean,
Okay,
as far as we know,
spoke. Now let
the
me speak,
plaintiffs have
please.
spent $65,000 on legal
You
fees so
spoke,
far.
let me.
You do intend to pay
Okay,
that with
call the
LCA
order.
funds?
Call the order. Jeff, I let you speak. Now, listen, please. The thing you don't understand is I do have the documentation that should it go to court.
Then publish it. Let us see it.
No,
Be
because I can't do
transparent with
that.
it.
I
You
can't
talk
do
about
that.
transparency.
Jeff, you're over talking again. Please stop. I can't do that. It's part of the evidence for the case. And it is very damning. So you're right. That stuff hasn't been done. But should this go to court, I have the documentation that I need for these various claims and assertions. I should know. I got it from lots of community members. This wasn't stuff I got by myself. I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself to bring all these various documents together. It was a community effort. Whether everyone realizes it or not, it was a community effort by many members within the community who were fed up with what was going on because their voice was not being heard. Now, this
So how much
meeting is
LCA
not-
money do you
this
intend to
meeting is
spend
not going to
to
go on
remedy
much
this?
longer. I'll take, looks like there's 3 more hands raised, and that's it for this meeting where we'll be done.
Is your intent to bankrupt the LCA?
No, I do not. I wish this was done like now already.
Then finish it. It's up to you.
When we get all the stuff back that we're supposed to have, that they've kept, the financial records and other things like that, and they want to actually make things right, we can end it. It's always been that way. We've always gone to the table with willing to negotiate.
What have you been willing to negotiate? Because what I've
Jeff,
seen,
it's
you
time.
guys
It's
have
over.
been
Jeff,
total
I'm not going to
capitulation.
get into that with you, Jeff. That's all privileged and confidential information and part of the case. Now, we're going to finish with you, Jay. You have your hand raised. Okay, go ahead, Jay.
Okay, I'd like to point the meeting at the bylaws, Article 8. There are some exemptions in there that without proving malice, you guys don't have a case. That's all I'll say.
Okay, thank you. Lee, so we have two more and then we're going to adjourn this meeting. Lee,
Okay,
go ahead.
yeah, I'm just gonna put a point blank statement out there. For all of you that have spoke against the lawsuit, Petra and Mick,
All right, we
Paul,
don't,
Jeff, okay, I'm sorry. I would like to point out that first, we will, and I will make sure that we will turn over to the prosecuting attorney after this case is over with, all the documentation that we have against the previous board to see if there is a case that we can go against them criminally. The second part is Petra, Ann, Mick, all the others that are against this. How would you like it, and this is not even on the board, this is not going to be brought up, if the board of directors voted to raise your dues $1,000 a year without your input and then take you to court for not payment? This is essentially what the last board did. And they raised the dues illegally. And therefore, how do we prevent this from going on in the future? So I applaud the original 4 people that brought this lawsuit in, is to prevent this board, the current board that I sit on, and future boards from the criminal activity that the previous board did. And therefore, I can't elaborate on certain things, but it's like there's a double standard here. It's okay for the old board to do what they did, but it's not okay for the new board to try to fix it. And if you want that to continue on, then when we're voted off, elect that new old board back on and let them raise your dues up to $1,000 a year and see what you have to do. I mean, there's rules and there's procedures to follow. None of that happened. Keola did a fantastic job in outlining what his plaintiff or what his concerns were. And the previous board did not follow any of the procedures, and that's the problem. And as far as all this exuberant legal fees, the previous board only had to pay out $10,000 for this lawsuit. That is it. Anything above $10,000, they should be accountable for out of their own personal pockets, because it was wasted money. Travelers insurance paid for the premium. We paid the deductible, or LCA did, and therefore all that extra money that was spent needlessly that you all are now complaining about, now you didn't say anything a year ago when they were spending all that money. So I'm getting a little emotional, but if you wanted to say something, you should have said it a year ago and not now. You had your time, at least the last 36 meetings, you could have said something and you refused to. I'm done. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. We have one more and then we're going to adjourn this meeting. So the last one, Sarah Wagner, ask you to unmute.
Aloha neighbors. I'd like to say I'm glad that you're feeling better, Keola. I would also like the former board to immediately return all the items that have been removed from the office that are LCA property. This includes all of our financial records and LCA property that was taken that does not belong to them as individuals. It belongs to the LCA. It's also important to note that there was a $10,000 deductible for this lawsuit using Lincoln Ishida, who was the LCA lawyer as their personal attorney to augment the insurance attorney was wrong. They did not need to do that, but they chose to do that, incurring costs that were unnecessary. They had legal representation. They did not have to augment this lawsuit by using Lincoln Ashita. One of the most interesting things I've heard tonight was having the former board under Jay Tchaikovsky referred to as miracle workers. I'd like the LCA community to know that at the beginning of the eruption, Mr. Tchaikovsky and Mr. Kaminsky on a Sunday morning went to Mayor Kim's personal home without an invitation and spoke to him harshly, out of step, without an appointment at his personal residence. Mayor Kim never once set foot in Leilani during the eruption. He didn't come to any of our events. He didn't come to any of our meetings. He was our representative, but he ghosted us based on the behavior of our former president, Jay Tchaikovsky, and his sidekick, Mr. Kaminsky. So we have a lot of the things that went wrong, that didn't go well, to blame for their actions on that Sunday morning. So to call them miracle workers is indeed a joke. They were not leaders, and they certainly weren't miracle workers. I'm calling on the previous board to put an end to this, because they can, by turning over all the documents, all of them, all of the property that they took, because it's missing. It's literally missing. And it didn't just evaporate, and Menahunis didn't take it away in the night. Kayla, I wish you a speedy recovery. Thank you for being a leader. Thank you for the board, and thank you for listening. I support this lawsuit because it is the right thing to do. And I think everyone who is a part of the LCA should expect that the previous board be held accountable for the misdeeds, because there were many. And they did not have to use Lincoln Ashita as their sidekick, as their personal attorney. He was not their personal attorney. He was the LCA lawyer. And they used him as their own personal attorney. And they had no right to, incurring costs that were exorbitant. May I remind you that Nanavali's legal bills last year, the year prior, and the year prior were zero. Thank you. Good night.
All right, with that, just a quick, before we adjourn, for the members of the board, we have a matter to settle and we need to go into executive session with legal and with some personnel issues. So after this, we'll meet in 5 minutes for an executive session. So with that, I move that we adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your remarks.